Hello, everyone, and welcome. Another episode of the Console Corner podcast. A couple big topics to talk about today. Dreamhack and HRX finished about almost 2 weeks ago. About a week and a half ago. It was November 16th to 18th, I believe. We're also going to talk about people were pretty upset about the outside and the outside regions and the smaller regions not being represented at the Paladins World Championship, nor the Paladins World Championship qualifiers. And then we're going to talk about the meat of today, the 2020 format for Paladins Esports. Big changes, a lot of changes. About 99% of the community very upset with it. All that on today's show. Hey, you're listening to the Console Corner podcast, brought to you by Console Corner. Don't forget to check out our website at consolecorner.co and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Console Pro News for all our updates for esports. Hello, everyone. My name's Blue, aka Real Blue TV. No E in Blue. Today's podcast, pretty busy one. Let's talk about HRX, Hirez Expo, at Dreamhack Atlanta. A lot of people came in my stream the past couple days, asked me how it was. But more so, people were very upset about the 2020 format. But they had seen leaks from players who received emails about it. Actual official announcement came out today, 26th of November, via Paladins Pro on Twitter. Check out the full blog post. For those of you listening to this via YouTube, the link will be in the description below. Those of you on Spotify, it's esports.paladins.com. Right under the news tab, new 2020 Paladins Esports format. But let's talk about Dreamhack. Let's talk about Hirez Expo. Number one thing is there were only 3 matches for Paladins at Hirez Expo during Dreamhack. And as upsetting as that is, it was a bad thing and it was a good thing. It was a bad thing because, people complained that they paid so much money to travel and get into Dreamhack for 3 matches of Paladins. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who don't understand. There's a ton of things at Dreamhack. I understand that the main reason why you're going is Hirez Expo, but let's take a look at what else was there. Tons of things, actually. Here at Console Corner, we took photos and covered a few other of the events as well as Paladins and Smite. But they had the FGC was there. Okay, this is just the fighting games. Fighting game championships. These were world championships for most of these. We had Tekken 7, Brawlhalla, Mortal Kombat 11, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Super Smash Bros. Melee. We had Street Fighter, the arcade edition, Rivals of Aether, and Soul Calibur 6. That's a lot of good esports right there in itself. We also had the Dreamhack Open 2019 for CSGO. That was a $100,000 prize pool. There was the Dreamhack Halo series, as well as a Halo 3 tournament, $50,000 prize pool for that. We had a Madden 20 premiere for $25,000. Actually, the defending world champ Dreeny took home the first place prize. I believe that would be $11,000. Got some quality images of him in doing so. Dreamhack Boost Cup, which was Rocket League, $5,000 prize pool. Smite World Championship, Paladins World Championship, $1 million combined prize pool. $1.2 million, excuse me. We had the ESL Mobile Open as well, $130,000 and up for 3 different games. We had the Asphalt 9 Legends World Championship, Clash of Clans World Championship, and the PUBG Mobile. Then there were community tournaments. So, if you just came as a spectator you felt like playing games, you could play CSGO, $2,500 grand prize. Dota 2, $2,500. Fortnite 1,000. Hearthstone, $200. League of Legends for $2,500. Magic, The Gathering Arena, $200. Minecraft for $400. Mordhau for $400. Overwatch had a $3,000 tournament. PUBG had a $1,000 tournament. Rocket League for $600. Rainbow Six Siege for $1,000. Team Fight Tactics for $500, StarCraft 2 for $200, an Unreal Tournament for $800, all that. Plus, check this out. Verizon had a booth there where they were showing off their new double screen slide phone, and if you got the fastest time each day, or on one of the 3 days, if you got the fastest time on a certain map or a certain course for Asphalt Legends, playing right there at the booth, you would win one of those phones for free. Take home that phone free, right? Also, they did mobile Fortnite tournaments every day at 7 p.m. at the booth. First come, first serve. You would win a phone if you win that Fortnite game. So, I mean, there was tons of things to do. There was tons of booths to buy things. There was tons of booths to check out new games, demo new games. I mean, hell, at HRX, you could play... Of course, you could play Smite, you could play Realm Royale, you could play Paladins, but you could play Rogue Company. So if you really break it down, I mean, Dreamhack's $35 for a one-day pass. So $35 per day, 3 days. $105, I believe. You can get plane tickets, round trip on Spirit for under $200. You can get an Airbnb for $20 to $100 a day. We'll call it $100, so $300. So I mean, or $400. You're gonna get there a day extra. So it's $4, $6, $700. I know to a lot of people that's a lot of money, but at the same time, I mean, the value of it is not just Hirez Expo. It's what people need to understand. Here's the other thing. One stage for HRX, meaning Paladins and Smite have to share. Paladins quarterfinals for the Worlds bracket was done in studio the week before. Smite was not. Here's why this is a good thing for Paladins, that it shared a stage, right? Most of the crowd in person last year, 2018 Hirez Expo at Dreamhack, was split because there were 2 stages. Stage 1 was Paladin, stage 2 was Smite. That stage, the crowd for Smite, of course, was larger. Those people, that community, they pay money to come watch Smite in person. Paladins is not the same way. You know, North America, Europe, they have giant communities, of course, for Paladins. The other 2 big ones are Latin America and Brazil. But they don't spend money. That's the problem. It's a free-to-play game, and everyone wants everything afterwards free as well. We'll get into this a little bit later, but Mixer, no longer an exclusive deal for Paladins or Smite, so there's not a lot of money for sponsorship and prize pools coming in from that going into the next year. There's not a lot of money coming in from these communities because they want everything for free. You have to spend money if you want the game to succeed. I mean, this is going back to OB64 type days. The game was losing money. It was either OB64 or the game is done. OB64 was the best patch. Everyone doesn't understand why I say that, and I'll tell you right now. It's because it saved the game, because it made people realize that they needed to spend money, and it showed the community that they need to show that they care, and they did as a collective, so it saved the game. So last year, Hirez Expo, right? You had seating for both stages. They were like folding chairs and such. And And those folding chairs were the same amount of chairs for each side, right? But Smite also had bleachers behind their chairs, big bleacher rise. They filled up the chairs, they filled up the bleachers. Paladins struggled to fill up the chairs, right? So going into the next year at Hirez Expo, from a business standpoint, most of the people that are in the stands for Paladins are some of the other players and teams that were competing on that bracket. So they were flown there for free, right? Because they earned their spot to play there. So they automatically got flown there and lodged for free by Hirez and Skillshot. So let's take a look at this from a deeper sense. As a business standpoint, is it worth the money and the investment to pay for another stage when you cannot fill those stands, for one, and two, 90% of the people that are in those stands are there because you flew them there for free to play, right? A lot of people don't understand this side of it, the business side. This is a business. Esports is a business. Every video game is a business. You know? So to have one stage, I think, is good because, you know, when they were showing shots on camera of the crowd for Paladins last year, they were stealing those shots from the Smite crowd. I don't know if you noticed that. So this year, by combining the stages, you are guaranteed to fill up those stands to the max, which they did, and there was even standing room. There was people standing all over because there were no seats. And you put Paladins first, of course, because Smite is longer and Smite is big brother. Smite is the favorite child. Paladins is the younger child that you try to give perks to, but it's not really working out. And, you know, Realm Royale is your middle child. No one really likes that middle child. But they filled up the stands. Yes, 90% of them were for Smite, but they were still cheering. You can still take those shots for online. You can still use those in the video, and you can still shop that out to potential sponsorships, consumers, and things like that, right? You can't do that if there's two stages and that second stage is empty. Here's another reason why that's good, right? You go to mixer.com/paladinsgame, twitch.tv/paladinsgame, youtube.com/paladinspro, whatever. And it's streaming live on all those platforms for the World Championship. And you see Paladins, right? But since Smite is not playing and Paladins is being streamed on all those Smite channels as well. Right? Those people are waiting for the Smite games, but they're going to watch those Paladins games because they don't know when it's going to end and they don't want to miss Smite. They don't want to miss the announcements in between the games, you know, stuff like that. So more people watched Paladins because it was on the Smite stage, quote unquote, right? Now, Smite fans don't care who wins in Paladins. I've even spoke to a lot of Smite players, or Smite fans at Dreamhack during that. But here's the thing. If, you know, the Knights versus NIP in the finals, Knights went up 2-0, the Smite fans are cheering for the Knights because they want it to get over with. But then when NIP comes back 2-2, they're cheering for NIP. When NIP goes up 3-2, they're cheering for NIP. Knights had a huge fan base with them as well. So it makes the crowd interaction better, makes for the video to be better, makes for the stream to be better, makes for the audio to be better. I understand how you feel because there was only one stage. But again, this helped. Let's take a look at the Zoomt stats. Zoomt is a service that measures your social and sponsorship value in an audience report. That's zoomph.com, right? Top events at Dreamhack, not Hirez Expo, at Dreamhack alone, right? Number one, Smite, 56.8 million impressions, $314.9 thousand social value. That's putting a price tag on each impression on social media. This is not how much money they brought in at the event. This is not how much money they actually brought in at the event, but how much money if you were to monetize each time Smite Pro was mentioned on social media during Dreamhack, right? So it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but at the same time, it's a lot of money because, you know, for Paladins like LatAm, Brazil during the course of the year, it's probably, you know, they got a lot of viewers in our streams, but probably 1 penny worth of each viewer because they don't spend any money, right? Number two, Dreamhack Halo series, right? So the Halo series, 32.7 million impressions, $182.5 thousand social value, right? So about half of Smite. Paladins Pro is the number 3. Paladins. That's right. Paladins, number 3. 27.6 million impressions. That's only 5.1 below Halo. $152.3 thousand social value. Only about 30.2 thousand below Halo. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible because Halo 2 I classify as a T2 esport. I classify Paladins as a T3. All right? That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Here's the reason why. Why is Paladins hard to promote as an esport? I can get into how the teams and players swap and do all that bull crap during the season, but that's not really why. Okay? It's mostly because Overwatch exists and Paladins gets the clone, it's just an Overwatch clone and it's blah, 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 all of that. But those who play Paladins know it's superior and very different. Smite is big brother. They're going to get a lot of the attention, a lot of the money, a lot of the prizing, a lot of everything. It's been around for 6 years, 7 years, whatever it may be. The timeline for esports is a big part as well. Smite started, like I said, 6-7 years ago. Times were different for esports. Not every game coming out was trying to be an esport back then. Look at League of Legends. That's been around forever. StarCraft's been around forever. Halo's been around forever. Call of Duty has been around forever. These things started off with, $100 prize pools in internet cafe. League of Legends mostly, and StarCraft for the internet cafe type things. But, Paladins doesn't have to start like that. So I've worked in music for a long time. It's kind of the same way for music, Back in the day, not many people became famous for music. And that's because it was harder to be discovered. It was harder to get that exposure. So once you got that exposure, you were pretty much everywhere and king of the world, right? Nowadays, with the internet, SoundCloud and Mixcloud, Reverb Nation, such easy access to be able to get your own music on major platforms like Spotify, Google Play, Apple Music, all by yourself without having to go through major labels or major distributors. And you can do this all online, blogs and stuff like that. YouTube especially creates a bigger pond, right? So, back in the day, you were a big fish in a little pond. Now you're a little fish in a big pond, right? Because there's so many other games trying to be esports, trying to have a competitive scene, trying to be successful. You look at the very few games that can reach that top potential. I want to say Fortnite, but at the same time, I don't want to say that. I think that Fortnite, because of Epic Games, has a huge branding. They have huge branding. They have huge marketing, huge success. But their competitive scene, I would classify as a T2. It's not very successful, even though they pay out millions and millions of dollars every year, or in 2019, whatever it may be. I also think that Overwatch was successful because of the same reasons. They have bigger marketing, they have bigger branding, they have the bigger commercial use, and they're part of Activision being under Blizzard, so of course they get all of that treatment. It's like Paladins is with Skechers. People will still buy Skechers. They still like Skechers, but Activision is Nike. So if Overwatch is with Nike, then essentially they're going to get more people to buy into that, right? They're going to get the bigger deals, the bigger sponsorships, bigger TV slots, things like that. So I understand. So let's talk about some other stuff. So overall, I think Hirez Expo one stage, good idea because it helped Paladins. I think Paladins would have been worse off if they had their own stage with Smite playing at the same time. That cuts their viewership in half because it's not streaming on the Smite channels, as well as the in-person people as well. All right, so let's talk about something that really upset people. Outside regions, right? Let's do a little bit of research here. Let's start with Dreamhack Valencia because that's the farthest one that we can remember the most of. It's the one that a lot of websites have information on as well. All right. Let's take a look at the PC teams that showed up, right? There were 8. Okay? We had Gangstars, District 69, Kanga Esports, Team Cryptic, Denial, Nocturnes, QG Craze, and Fear Us. Okay? Now, Cryptic won this event. That was with the roster of Vex 30, I believe. Cuss Cutie, War Doom, I Drop Bodies, Evil Eye, and Doseps, right? So a North American squad. All players that we know. We had Kanga. They were from Australia. QG Craze was from China. Nocturnes Gaming were the Lat Am squad. So SSG was not here. Nocturnes was, if I remember correctly, yeah, it was the same. So they had Sadak, Pule Ule, Crimson, Fuzzy Logic, and Hakate, right? So a lot of people, let's look at this. Hakate made it into the PPL, Phase 1. Crimson, Fuzzy Logic moved on. They played different games. Pule Ule made it into Phase 1 of the PPL for 2019. And so did Sadak, but he played the entire PPL, and he was with Space Station Gaming, right? So they finished 5th to 8th, right? 8th place. I want you to remember this. So Nocturnes Gaming, not an NA, not an EU team, finished 5th place. Okay? Fear Us finished 5th to 8th as well. Can't remember who that roster was. I believe that was take a look here. I believe that was Southeast Asia team. Okay, let's take a look at the scores here. Nocturnes Gaming lost 3-1 to Kanga, right? Fear Us got 3-0'd by Gangstars. Cryptic beat QG Craze in the finals. Okay, QG Craze, the Chinese team. I can't remember exactly who was on the team, but I know Sha was. They had some really good players. We'll go into that here in a second. But, all right, so 3 teams were not from NA or EU, or 4 teams, but Kanga was in the PPL, so we're going to exclude them for this moment, right? Nocturnes Gaming finished 5th to 8th. Fear Us finished 5th to 8th. Not good showings from either team, especially Fear Us. QG Craze made it all the way, but they had one draft that they did. Once Cryptic lost game 1 in the finals, they realized what that draft was. They took it away from them. QG Craze was pretty much helpless after that. So EU and NA dominate this scene right here, right? For the most part. An NA and an EU team were both in the top 4. QG Craze from China. Kanga, top 4, was also not NA or EU as well. So, okay, I get your point. If you look at Dreamhack, yes, teams from outside regions should be accepted, which they did. In the next one, though, Paladins World Championship qualifiers for 2018 going into the Cobb Center. This was in the January, right? So going into the qualifiers, these are the teams that were in qualifiers. SK Gaming, Fnatic, Nas Vincere, Team Envy, Renegades, Mouse Sports, Splice, Purity, Gangstars, Kill to Heal, and Pampa team, right? So Fnatic and Navi were the only 2 teams that qualified out of these. Mouse Sports was in the PPL. They got destroyed. Splice was in the PPL. They got destroyed. Renegades was in the PPL. They got destroyed. But they went to the World Championship where they got destroyed again. But they were accepted into it because another team couldn't make it. So that's strike number 1 against you guys who want all these teams to come out of these unknown regions, right? Renegades had to replace the team because they couldn't make it. I believe it was the CIS team, the Independent States, whatever. Purity was a PGS team. Guess what? The 2 best players, Rubu and Rock Monkey from that team, made it onto Envy. Envy was not very good at that moment. SK Gaming, they choked, but they didn't make it. Gangstars. Can't remember exactly who was on this team at the time. But they didn't make it, right? They were from NA as well, I believe, or EU, one of the 2. Kill to Heal and Pampa team. Let's take a look at Pampa team. No info on that, but Kill to Heal and Pampa team didn't make it. I believe one of them was an NA team. Can't remember exactly. So, Navi, Fnatic, they make it out of qualifiers. This is qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifiers, okay? So, no. I don't believe outside teams should have been there. They would have just gotten stomped. Let's take a look at the World's bracket from the Cobb Center that year, right? Let's take a look at this. These are the teams that were there. Nas Vincere, they won the championship. Fnatic came 2nd. 3rd and 4th went to NIP and Nocturnes Gaming. Nocturnes had a great run. Once again, 3 of those players made it into the PPL. All right, so even if the other 2 kept going, Fuzzy Logic and Crimson, would they be able to find 3 players that could compete at a PPL level at the next World Championship, which is what you guys want because they're not from NA or EU, right? Answer's no, guys. Answer's no. G2 Esports and Virtus Pro came 5th to 6th. Once again, PPL squads. A lot of those players returned for the PPL. 7th and 8th was China Dream and Kanga Esports. Now, in 9th to 12th, China Honor was in there. Entity Gaming, Renegades, and Space Station Gaming. So, Space Station Gaming, 9th to 12th place. They made it into PPL, right? Renegades, still in PPL. A lot of those players from that exact squad, though, do not play anymore. I think Renegades do better now than they did then. Entity Gaming, your SEA squad, got destroyed. 3 games in, I believe, or was it 2 games? It was 2-0 by Navi. Under an hour with commercial breaks and everything. They got taken out. Then they went against Fnatic in the losers bracket of their group. Got 3-0 in under an hour. So you guys got to give up this, we should let other regions in, right? Now the thing is that a lot of people say, what about the Oceanic region? Okay, well, we just got rid of the SEA region because the best team there can't even compete on this level. I know that's kind of harsh, but at the same time, if they're not competing, they're not making money, which means the region is not making money, right? Is there a big ad market in SEA? I don't believe so. Okay. Let's go to Oceanic, where Kanga dominated all the time. They were actually undefeated in their region every single time. Every phase, every PGS, every tournament, every LAN event outside of high-res events, right? So like Dreamhack or PAX at Oceanic, whatever. They never lost. They never lost. So if Kanga is coming in 7th out of 8th place in the PPL and they can't win Worlds there, why are we going to let a team who could never beat Kanga come from Oceanic region? Why are they going to pay $2,000 per player, okay? Just for round trip flights alone. That's $10,000. That's $12,000 for the team in airplane flights, ladies and gentlemen. $12,000 for this team to come to America, if they can even get here, because visa issues are what hurt the 2 Chinese teams at this bracket, this world bracket, right? They couldn't get 5 guys. One of their entire team could not show up because of visa issues. Not to mention, this month, November, Tencent ended their deal with Hirez, so Paladins is no longer available in China. But everybody wants teams from outside of NA and EU. I can understand LATAM. I can understand Brazil. SSG has come from them. Nocturnes has had good runs in the past before. So players are in those regions, but they don't spend money. They're not making money from those regions. They've given in. They've given Brazil, and we'll get into that a little bit later for the 2020 format. But what I'm trying to say is that these teams are a liability, high-res, skill shot, whatever it may be. Whoever is paying these people to get them to LAN is spending thousands and thousands of dollars for players to show up, get one-tapped, and then go home. From a business standpoint, it is not worth it. You know, I did play-by-play. I casted a Oceanic tournament. I think it was like 2, maybe 3 months ago. Basically like a PGS style type bracket, right? For Oceanic teams. There was like 2 good players. Just good though, from my perspective. Not good enough to be in the PPL. Not good enough to be in the PML and be a winner, but could make the PML and, you know, possibly learn how to be better, right? The rest of the teams out there, I'm not paying $12,000 to fly you out, man. I'm sorry. I'm cutthroat. I tell the truth. There's not very good players out there. And Kanga was really good. And no one could beat them. So I'm not wasting money to bring a team that can't beat a Kanga. Let alone take a map off of them. Let's talk about the qualifiers for Hirez Expo last year at Dreamhack when Envy won the championship, right? Take a look at these teams that are outside of NAEU. Zaga Talent finished dead last. Ryder finished dead last, along with Mouse Sports from the PPL. 9th to 12th, you have Team Cryptic, who was an EU team from the PGS. Sour team as well. Sanguine and Renegades all finished 9th to 12th. 7th to 8th was Big Egos and Splice. Big Egos was an NA PGS teams. Armada, a CIS team, but was representing EU. And then you have Fnatic, SSG, Kanga, and Virtus Pro, who qualified for the Worlds bracket, right? So, at the time, SSG was Brazil. So, Brazil, okay, made it. CIS with Armada. Made it pretty far. Cryptic and Sour Team from EU, they did pretty well. Latin America finished dead last. So did Southeast Asia. And Kanga was the only ones that made it. So do we let SEA in? No. Just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. I love the dynamic of having other outside, unknown, smaller regions at the competition, but they're just not up to par. Let's take a look at the world's bracket here. Envy won, Navi came in second, Fnatic third and fourth, Space Station Gaming third and fourth, G2, Kanga, NIP, and Virtus Pro, all 5th through 8. 3 PPL teams out of 4 in the top 4. EUNA. So do we need outside? No. I just don't see the support. I don't see the business gain. I don't see the return on investment for bringing out Oceanic, SEA. China's dead now. In Latin America, and that's an if. But now they can play on Brazil servers for the 2020 format. We'll talk about that. So let's get into it. Let's get into the 2020 format, right? Online play only. Online play only. Two big things go into this, right? Number one, I remember hearing so many people complain that they had to travel to play in the studio for the PPL. Right? Just let us play our games online. I think I heard that about 1,000 times in the first 2 months. Well, now you can. Now you can. And now people are complaining that it's not at LAN. It's not in the studio. Which is hilarious to me. It's absolutely hilarious, right? You know, the Paladins community. Hey, it's a free-to-play game, but I want everything in the game for free. Hey, I don't want to play on LAN. This year you're not playing on LAN, but I want to play on LAN. You give them option A, they want option B. You give them option B, they want option A. Never happy. The other problem is a lot of players do not like living in the Staybridge suites, by the way. Well, that's nor Hirez or Skillshot's fault. They provided each team with a set amount of money for housing or whatever they want to do with it. And the orgs, most of them, took it as a paycheck, it seems, because or paid for the Staybridge suites, because Envy had a team house, Kanga had a team house, Knights got a team house, and SSG got a team house a little later in the season. So half of the orgs had team houses, the other half did not. That's the org's fault. The org was in charge of setting up their housing for their players. And they did it. So the players, you got to complain to your org. A lot of people don't know that, though. Outside of the players. Because they say, oh, high-res this, high-res that. Where's our Envy skin? Well, there's legality issues for that. Standings reset each phase. By the way, there is no PML, there is no PPL, there is no PCL. There's one league, the Paladins Pro Circuit, the PPC. It's merging, all their leagues merging into one competitive ecosystem. The Paladins Pro Circuit. I can understand why this is bad, and I can understand why this is good. And I think it's time to just go with the flow. Standings reset each phase. This is good. PCL and PML did this in 2019. It kind of provided a little bit of better quality matches with fresh starts for the standings because it actually mattered once again. You know, you look at the PPL, Renegades finished 4-24. They were like 2-15 or 2-20 or something going into phase 2. So at that point, they're like, hey, we're going to have to go through qualifiers. So whatever, right? So, you know, everyone, fresh start, each phase. And relegations forced the better matches because with it only being, 18 teams, Brazil, NA, and EU, 6 teams in each region. Let's take a look here. 6 teams, 5 players. We won't include subs or coaches. You got 30 players, right? 30 times 3. 180 players. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of players trying to get into this league next year, I think. So, better quality matches because you need to be in that league, right? Because it's the only league. Brazil is now officially supported as well. This is a direct quote from the announcement. Many of our best PPL players rising from Brazil, close quote. Who wrote this? This is probably the only thing that I have a problem with at its utmost highest scale. Who wrote that? Yes, it's a large community. They don't spend as much money as NA and EU in the game. And who said many of our best PPL players rising from Brazil? Who said this? Who said this? Who? Okay, Space Station Gaming, the Brazilian squad, right? Let's take a look deeper into that squad and the PPL as a whole. PPL, 8 teams, 5 players per team. That's 40 players. We won't even include the players that no longer were in phase 2 that were in phase 1 because all those players that were dropped, Pule, Ule, Hakate, Dethroner, and Payan, were not Brazilian. Okay? So 44 players. Right? Now let's look at SSG, the only team with Brazilian players in the PPL. So that 40 is now narrowed down to 5. But wait a second. Sadak was on that team, is not from Brazil. Scratch him out. 4 players. Out of 44 players, right? Oh, Creatives, 45. Also not from Brazil. 45 players, ladies and gentlemen. 45 players. Many of our best PPL players rising from Brazil. Excuse me, what? I'm no math major, but last time I checked, 4 out of 45 is not many of our best PPL players. Are you talking about like the best as in like the best players overall so we can, scratch out players, like the crappy players? So you just take like the top 10 players and you're putting all of those 4 SSG players in the top 10? Is that what you're talking or referring to? Because many of our best PPL players rising from Brazil does not make sense when 4 out of 45 were from Brazil, ladies and gentlemen. So no, I don't agree with that quote. No, I don't think 4 good players determines if an entire region gets 6 pro teams. No, I don't. This right here seems like they have just tried to gain the viewership. They know Brazil is going to watch their streams. They're not going to spend any money, though. But they know they're going to watch the streams. They know they're going to support the teams. They know it's a large country with a lot of people. So, yeah. Well, starting in 2020, you can say 1/3 of the PPC is some of your best PPC players rising from Brazil. 1/3 of our best PPC players rise from Brazil. You can say that next year, but you can definitely not say that about the PPL. Many of our best PPL players rising from Brazil. 4 out of 45, ladies and gentlemen. 4. That is 0.08%. That is 8% of the PPL players were from Brazil. 8%. What is 92% if 8% is many of our best? There's also no platform restrictions in the PPC. So, no more PML, no more PCL. The dead weight has been cut and better quality matches. Why do I say this? Flashpoint proved they can contend with PC teams, let alone PPL caliber teams. Hype Unit, I think, could as well. Let's take a look at the PML for a second. All of EU in phase 2. That was a good fight for first place between all of them. Be sad to know that not all of those players will make it into the PPC because you have the PPL EU players coming home. But some players are retiring. Some are quitting. So, who knows, right? PML North America, I think, has some talent in the Hype Unit squad. The Sanguine squad will probably have some players that make it into the PPCNA. The 5-Stack Esports team could possibly play in the Brazil region. They'll make it into that most likely. And then you have, Exile with the leftover NA players. I think maybe some of them will make it on. They had a good ending to their season in 2019 as well. But let's take a look at the PCL teams. Aerial Rise, get them out of here, dude. A lot of these teams I'm about to list didn't even show up. Like the teams like Aerial Rise. I mean, dead weight has been lifted. People don't understand this. Cyclone, I think those players some of them will make it in. I have good confidence in Welsh, Fanatics, Yui. Satisfies. Bust Down, I could see maybe 1 or 2 of them trying to get into the PPC. Vroom Vroom, I think, is a good console team. Might be a little rough for them trying to go against PC teams. But here's the thing. Right? It says, right? This is where Paladins bread and butter is, okay? This is where the good stuff comes from, right? Let's read the exact thing, the exact statement in the official announcement, right? There are no platform restrictions in the PPC, meaning that players can compete on PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch, right? This means that any player can build a competitive team with their friends and compete in an open qualification process for a spot in the PPC. Furthermore, players can also use a keyboard and mouse or controller as they see fit. Controller players can play on PCs. A lot of people are going to say, it doesn't matter, but that makes a big difference for controller players. If you're not going to transition to KBM, M and K, whatever, mouse and keyboard, you can play on your PC. with your controller. That's what this statement is telling me. Yes, PC supports gyro controls now. For those of you who were wondering. Teams like Aerial Rise, gone. Heating Up, Stremix, Hydra Gaming, Absolute Rain, gone. Hell, Classified, E-Storm, Vroom Vroom, Bust Down, Stush Gaming, probably gone as well. You want to be the best, now's the time. Because you're going to have to be damn well good to get into the PPC. No region restrictions as well. All games will be played on North America, European, or Brazilian servers only. But you can be from any other region. Now, the biggest question for this right here, the CIS players, are they going to play on EU because they usually do? LATAM, are they able to play on Brazil with OK ping, or is that going to be a huge difference? Is that going to push them away or shut them out of playing? But also, the biggest question I have about no region restrictions, but NA, EU, Brazilian servers only, is what about Kenga? Obviously, Gara's going back home to EU. Evil Eye lives in NA. But you got Chronix, Rhino, and Jols. Of the three, we'll take Joel's out of it. I think Rhino's a good off tank. I think he deserves to be playing next season. And Chronix, if he was on a different team, could contend for a world championship this past in 2019. But Kang Gang for life, right? Here's a problem. Games aren't played on LAN, which means they're going back to Australia. Will they make the move? Diggy Dog moved all the way to Sweden to play in EU, and then he was with them still when they played on LAN, but he moved to Sweden to play with NIP before the PPL was on LAN only. Will Chronix, Rhino, or Joels make that same move to play online? I'll tell you right now, Chronix. I don't have an extra bedroom. Okay? But I can put a bed in the front room because I don't even use the front room. You can put your desk and everything in there. It's a huge living room. That's your room, man. You want it? Come get it. We could be roommates. Rhino. You can live there too, man. The both of you. I'll supply your team house. Daddy Hayes, just pay me $200 a month. We'll call it $100 per person. I've got the fastest internet on the market, baby. But in all realistic, I feel bad for him, man. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna move to NA? They're gonna move to EU? Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna move to Brazil? Do cocaine out of a shoey. I'm just kidding. Don't do cocaine, kids. I think this I think it's a good system. I just think that it's also a bad system because it has a lot of holes. But I think that it's good. The parts of it that are good because it's patching up the holes that were in the previous formats, right? I think mid-season relegations, which are also happening, are a good thing as well. Standings will reset, so matches will matter once again at a higher cost, better quality, and it will help cut some dead weight, which it did in 2019 to an extent for the PML and PCL. But when you do it here, you're going to have only one league. So those players getting relegated are going to be very eminent to stay in it, and the players trying to get in through relegations are going to be very hungry for those positions. Prizing. Let's talk about prizing. $240,000 for regular season, not including LAN, for the entire season, right? For 2020. That's $120,000 per phase, and that's $40,000 per region per phase. I don't know how they're going to break it down. I don't know how they're going to break it down. I would think that like 10 grand goes to first place, maybe. No lower than that. It has to be 15 or 20,000 to be real. First place. If it's 20, that's awesome. I mean, each player would get what, 4 grand? Let's talk about it though. 4 weeks of play for qualifiers, just like PCL and PML did last year. Open bracket for the first 3 weeks, I believe. You qualify, get in the top 8. Then you play for the probably 6 spots, I think. I don't know. We'll have to wait. It's a little different this time. There's 6 teams instead of 4. Phase 1 is 10 weeks of play. Phase 2 is 15 weeks of play. Phase 1 is 10 weeks of play. Summer LAN, 3-day event. Relegations is 2 weeks. Then Phase 2, which is 15 weeks. And then Hirez Expo, which is the Paladins World Championship with Smite as well at the end of the year. Non-exclusive to Mixer now. They have Shroud, they have Ninja, and some other big names, so they don't really need Paladins anymore. Plus the whole Smite thing at towards the end of Phase 2 for that. Smite Minor League. But let's see, we have Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, and Steam. They'll all be streaming on 1 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday. Non-stream matches will be provided the next day for the public. They're going to be streaming. There's no set stream schedule by team either, I believe. They said they'll be streaming the best quality matches every week. So it'll be a surprise every week. Is this a good thing? Yes and no. Is it a bad thing? Yes and no. I don't know. I think that a lot of people are going to quit. And the problem with that this year is that if you quit, 9 times out of 10, you won't get the chance to come back. I don't know. I just think that it's a big change, and I think that because it's a huge change, a little bit of downsizing because it's only one league, a lot of people are going to be very upset with it, as they already are. And I'm okay that them being upset. Am I upset? No. Am I happy? No. But at the same time, pretty excited for how this is going to work out. Who's going to stay? Who's going to play? I think it'd be very interesting to watch it this year. That's pretty much it for me. My name's Blue. This has been the Console Corner podcast. Don't forget, we have a lookbook for coming to the website soon at consolecorner.co. That's consolecorner.co. There'll be a lookbook on there of all the pictures and stuff from the events and everything at Dreamhack Atlanta. Just finished editing all those photos. A ton in that. Big lookbook. Big. Yeah. Got some new videos coming out about free agents and things like that. Not necessarily doing any recaps of Worlds. We all know what happened. We all seen it. It would be kind of a lot of work to put into something we already have broken down a lot through different channels and different sources and things like that. Everyone enjoy the offseason. Keep grinding. Make sure you play some ROM. Wild West Battle Pass is available for everyone out there right now. If you tuned in for non-Paladins related stuff, sorry. Big stuff is happening in Paladins this week, though. But yeah. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to tune into the next one. No special guest this time, but the next one, we'll get some pro players on. We'll talk to them. We'll also be uploading the Road to Pro audio. That was a panel at Dreamhack, so watch out for that. That'll be uploaded to Spotify, I believe. But, yeah. You can follow me on Twitter at RealBlueTV, no E in blue. Also on Instagram. And you can follow us at Console Pro News on Instagram, Twitter, and check out our website at consolecorner.co. Later.